Welcome to the KIPS podcast. My name is Tyler Valencia, and I'm the president of Time to Train Fitness, as well as the owner of KIPS. We have the first live recording in the KIPS podcast. Have I tried this before? Yes, I have. But finally, I worked up the courage to put all the pieces together and actually release one. And when thinking of who should I have on for this episode, that it'll be a home run. I brought back one of our guests that's already been on the KIPS podcast two other times. This will be his third. Jason Cohen of Cohen Fitness from YouTube. Jason, thank you for being my guest, coming on and agreeing to do this.
Yeah, thanks. Has it been 3 times?
This is your third. Each one blows up. Yeah, definitely some of our most popular podcast episodes. And I mean, it's because it's good information and it's very relatable for the last few years within the health fitness industry, just what you guys are doing and the tremendous growth. And, this episode, I feel like just talking with you before the recording on it, these are all questions that any Fit Pro health and wellness professional, when they own a business, whether it's YouTube based, online, in person, they're going to be looking at these next steps. Where do I go? What are my options, kind of thing. Sometimes you see fitness professionals, they get into the supplement realm. Can that be lucrative? Sure, probably. Have I tried that? Yeah, I have. Did I stop doing it? Yep. But I think expanding beyond like what your main business is, those are all questions that you have. Do I open up a second location? Do I start a second channel? These are all things. And I think that with building on YouTube, for some, it might be more unknown. I know that for the majority of people that listen to this podcast, they still don't take advantage of YouTube, in my opinion. But let's kick this episode off with, for the listeners, can you give some more background, what you do, about your channel and your part of creating Cohen Fitness?
Yeah. Kaylee and I came together, I guess, in 2009. Well, I mean, we didn't come together in 2019. We've been married for 11 years now. But in 2019, that's kind of when our special talents kind of came together. My love for cameras and editing, and Kaylee's love for indoor cycling and personal training. So we actually put a video on YouTube for her mom to watch because we lived overseas at the time. And you get the first comment that someone says, "Hey, I loved your spin class. It's really improving my mornings, improving my life." Whatever the case is, as soon as you get that first comment that you've impacted someone's life, like that's it. You've just cemented what we're going to be doing, because you can't stop at that point, right? It just continued from there, and now I'm the full-time producer of Cohen Fitness, and Cohen Cycling and Strength. And yeah, that's it. That's what we're doing.
What subscriber count are you guys at right now on both channels?
Oh man, let's see. We're almost to 200,000 on the cycling. Amazing. And 21,000 on the strength.
Amazing.
Yeah,
that's big. I remember I started following you guys, I think around 60,000. I think maybe even less than that. And each time that you've come on the podcast, I feel like it's double, if not triple. And it's just amazing that you hear those numbers. And some people, anybody that goes through the YouTube grind specifically, getting that first 1,000. I mean, I just got my first 1,000 last October. And going through that grind, what you learn about it, all those types of things. When you see another channel, talk to anybody that has more, 20K, 150, whatever it is, you're just like, whoa, like you must have something special going on. What you guys do? Like, you guys have something special, not just with the workouts, but the community that you guys build and all the other pieces with it. And so 2 channels of that magnitude is just amazing. And so with your guys' channels, and let's just talk about first the cycling one. So we've talked about before how you guys came to starting it, just putting stuff up there. About how long into it, or was it part of maybe the quarantine, the pandemic that helped with the boosting of it? How long into it were you like, okay, maybe we should start maybe investing in some lights, nicer cameras. How long did that take for you guys?
Well, I guess I would, right away as I'm editing, I look at, while I'm editing, I see like, oh, I could improve this, or this one thing I would like to try something else. So ever since I edited the first video, I've always wanted to improve the next one. So just like with the fitness journey, right? And going to the gym, you just want to, push a little bit harder than you did the day before, right? So that's kind of the approach that I had with it, is just leveling up just a little bit at a time. Luckily enough, I was in a position where I could reinvest into Kaylee's workouts, because number one, it was a hobby of mine. So I was kind of investing in what I thought was my hobby at the time. And from there, yeah, it just continued to, I guess, snowball at that point.
Yeah. I mean, the quality of the output, the look of it, the sound of it. Even going back to what I said with like the look of it, with the cameras, what you guys do with your sets, all that kind of stuff. There is a purpose with all those things. The lenses that you use, the paint on the background, all those things. There is a element of purpose, why we use it, all those types of things. What were some of like the resources that you utilized to come up with some of that stuff? Was it mostly trial and error, or was it doing research online?
Yeah, it was a lot of YouTube and just kind of brainstorming with Kaylee a lot too. I guess probably one of the biggest things that contributed to growth was, I guess, 2020 or 2021. Maybe it was 2021. We went away from instead of a New Year's resolution, Kaylee and I decided, I heard this in a podcast, I can't remember who I stole it from, but I kind of stole this idea too. So it's not mine. But instead of picking a New Year's resolution, we picked a word. And 2021, my word was intent. So when it came to anything creative, instead of just trying something new, I went back behind and thought, well, what's the actual intent of changing this, right? Like, what's the intent of creating a blue wall? Or I think that was the year on that. What's the intent of changing the colors? What's the intent of having this or that, or calls to action, or multiple camera angles? So yeah, it was really defining the intent. So I used that word through the whole year. And I think that made my decision making and my creative mind much more intentional. I don't even know how else to say it. So yeah, it made everything much more intentional on the decisions that we made, and that contributed to a lot of growth that year.
I feel like that kind of explains a lot of, I mean, I know you outside of this recording, and thinking about myself, like I'm more of a research-based mind because of, my schooling. I have to read research on a weekly basis. That's one of the things I have to do later on today. And so things in my mind, they have to make sense. They have to be having a purpose, and being creative on the other side. That's harder for me to do. Like we're almost on different sides of the spectrum there. That I have to see things in order to get some creative inspiration. But like for myself, like my background, I'm looking at my filming set off to the side here. Like everything had to have a purpose. Like, why am I doing this? It's for this reason. Like it all had to make sense in my head. And so I think that for somebody listening, maybe figuring out, okay, maybe you do need more creative inspiration, or maybe you do have to have more intent for it. Like it can help someone listening there that, okay, that's good. Like Jason said, that think about the intent of the purpose of it. Do I want to improve this so that hopefully someone down the line, they notice it, they see the quality, the professionalism, or do they want to see that we have purpose with the workouts that we're doing? We're making sure that we put the time, effort, all those kinds of things. Because I think that those are things that come across right away with your guys' workouts. Is for myself, when I watch it, and this could just be my mind again, when I watch you guys' workouts, whenever I tune in for the live stream, I'm just blown away with the quality of it, how it looks, the multicam. And I know with what you've shared with me and even what you share in social media, it's a lot of intent, a lot of investment in those types of cameras, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And so it's amazing to see in that aspect. And I think for maybe somebody listening now, I'm talking about, okay, a lot of investment, a lot of stuff. With your guys' YouTube journey, when did you feel like it was the right time? Because I know that this will be something that a lot of YouTubers, maybe even specifically people that do online workouts, that they'll be thinking, okay, when is it that I should be investing in a nicer camera, nicer background? When do you think that that time is? Or, and like, when was it for you guys as well?
Yeah. I hear this a lot too. And we never really went into YouTube for it to be a business. The main source of reward that we get isn't monetary, or it isn't money. It isn't anything else. It's actually improving people's lives. And it's hearing the stories of how we're improving people's lives. That kind of fuels us to do the next thing. So it makes it easy to understand that whatever we get into the business, let's make them better for the end user. That's and reinvesting into it. That's kind of what we've done the whole time, is just reinvesting into it based off of the reward of improving someone's life and making these more enjoyable for the end user, the viewer.
Yeah. I think that key word there was more enjoyable. And I actually had this conversation with one of my instructors with Time to Train Fitness recently, that it was when you come from live workouts, I mean, you have tools like the music you can turn up. I mean, you can see them, you can walk around, and I mean, of course, you can shout, you can make all your cues, all that kind of stuff. That is part of your belt, your instructor belt. And now on YouTube, you have more things at your disposal. You have a second camera angle, you have lights, you have B-roll footage that you can bring
sound
in,
effects,
all these different elements that, oh, I didn't know that I could use all these things. And so it almost gets to a place where like, oh wow, I have so many more tools that I can use to make it more entertaining, that it's more of a show, it's more of a production. I think that is one of the things that it takes a bit to understand it, to realize if you don't have any background in any type of movie production, cameras, editing, anything like that, it takes a bit, because all you're used to is just the fitness world, the fitness realm of, I have my music, I have my microphone, and I have myself. That's all I have. People better like it, kind of thing. With you guys, I mean, the evolution of it, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but the first studio that you had, was it like your in-home gym in one of your guys' houses?
Yeah, it was just a guest bedroom where we had a like a Rogue Fitness squat rack.
Yeah, I remember.
And Kaylee had her spin bike in there, and yeah, it was just a spare bedroom that we worked out in.
I remember it. I mean, I remember the lights were on the ground. I do remember.
It's so bad to go back and watch too. I'm like, what were we thinking? Yeah,
that's how I got hooked.
That's the evolution, though, right? Like, you start not knowing anything about it, and your worst video is going to be your first video. Your second worst video is going to be the video right after that, right? So it's just the evolution of it, and learning as you go. And we didn't know what we were doing back then. We still don't know what we're doing now. Tomorrow, I'm probably going to know a little bit more than I did today. Like,
I think you hit on something good there, right there, with like not knowing it. Because I mean, you and I were joking about that before record, with the unknown of YouTube. How do you deal with that yourself, like on the daily basis? Like, how do you deal with like that type of mindset? For some, I know that can be I don't want to say alarming, but it could be something that is unsettling to say, like, yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with this video, or I don't know how I'm going to do. How do you deal with that personally?
Just giving myself a little bit more patience and understanding that like, when I go back to when we first hit 1,000 subscribers, I've been a fan of YouTube and YouTube creators. And I was looking at the 100,000 subscriber YouTuber is like, man, they made it. Like they made it. They're there, right? That's their full-time job. They're doing the thing. And now, like, you get to a point where you still don't feel like you've reached the level that you remember them being. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I still don't feel like, even though now we're almost 200,000 subscribers, I don't feel like we still know what we're doing. We're still trial and error. We're still testing things. Some things win, some things lose. But I guess that's kind of how it's supposed to be, right? Like, no one's ever perfected it except Mr. Beast, maybe. Maybe Mark Rober. I think he's figured it out.
A quick little promo break here in this episode. If you're a fan of the KIPS podcast, you know that at some point there's a promotion for the Naboso Duo insoles. I just pulled these out of my shoes, gave them a quick rinse to get the sock dust off of them, and I wanted to talk about them because they're great. They're fantastic. They make an impact on your daily life. If you sit at a desk or if you're on your feet, sometimes your feet just feel achy, or maybe they feel like they went to sleep. That's for myself. I felt like after working a full day that my feet did not want to go to the gym, work out, do something active, and it led to some bad habits. But with these, I feel more active. I feel I can do more things, and I've been using them for over a year now. With your clients, with your family, with your friends, share them, talk about them, see what they think, because they really do make a difference. If your feet feel more active, you're gonna be more active, and that equates to being more healthy. Check them out. There's a link in the description. See all the products they have, and let's get back to this episode. I think you're 100% right with it. The best example I could give right now, and it's kind of cheesy, but I was just watching the movies again. When I say watching, I don't really sit down and watch movies. I'll do that a couple times or a week maybe, and it's maybe late, or if I go to the movies. But like when I say I'm watching something, sometimes it's just in the background. I just need some background noise when I work. But I had the Rocky movies on.
Nice.
And some of my favorites. And in the second, in Rocky 2, Rocky's trainer was saying how he doesn't want him to fight, Creed's trainer isn't saying how he doesn't want him to fight Rocky. He's got the eye of the tiger. He was hungry. He didn't care, like all these types of things. And that's part of Rocky's evolution. And the other movies, like how he gets a family, he's got Adrian, like he cares about all these things. He doesn't want to get hurt. But at the same time, like when you do have the eye of the tiger, when you're hungry, when you are, willing to take those risks, and you don't know what the future is, like that's part of, like, you're not complacent with, okay, I'm just going to hit record. I have my workout. I just go through the motions of it. When you get to that stage, I feel like you're not going to see any growth. The uncertainty, I feel like that gives you that push to, I want to be creative. I want to try something new. I want to try, this different angle. I want to try making this different thumbnail. I think that's part of it. Like that's part of the YouTube grind of it.
That's what I learned going back to using the word intent in 2021. Most of the intent, like what is the overall intent? And it's to the viewer is where the focus should be, right?
Yeah. So
if you try something and you try it with the viewer in mind and not your pocket in mind, if you make a mistake, you make a mistake, right? Like ultimately, if you're doing it for the right reasons, it's going to be the right decision. So yeah, doing everything for the viewer and understanding that they're number one, not your pocket, going into it to improve other people's lives and give value to someone is the right reason to start. And that's, I guess, going back to, the success we've had has just been keeping that in mind the whole way. I'm super grateful for all the growth that we've had. We definitely didn't know what we were doing, and we still don't know what we're doing, and it's still kind of falling in our lap, and we don't know really what to do with it. So yeah, I'm sure we're going to get to those business questions soon.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to say, I don't know what I'm doing still. So
that's okay. with that, and as it relates to even fitness, I feel like that's part of um, the mental struggle that I face, any fit pro faces on a daily basis, with um, having to think of the end consumer. And the best way I can relate this to somebody listening is, and especially somebody on YouTube, like just recently, I did a collaboration with one of mine and yours friends on YouTube, Joe Alvarado, and
I know that
of
guy.
course, of course, I went on the video, looked at the comments, that kind of stuff, and there was a comment on there for my section on the collaboration about what do you recommend for weights and whatnot. Someone new that doesn't follow my workouts regularly, so they wouldn't know, and they wouldn't know that my classes are, you adjust depending on your fitness level. You adjust in order to challenge yourself. And when I think back, though, to the years when I did personal training, where I did group exercise, it's a lot of people want to be told, you do this weight, you're going to do it for this amount. And then when you give them that freedom, you're kind of lost. You're like, oh, I don't know. So but reading that, in my mind, when I read, I was like, okay, I need to place more emphasis on giving more recommendations. And I just did it yesterday when I filmed my workout. Was I put on my sheet notes of like, okay, give a recommendation for what type of weight they should be using to hopefully help that person. But that's that mindset of, okay, what's the end user? What's the end user when they watch this, whether it's a first person, a continuing person, they're going to take it differently. And I think that that's part of too, a difference of online with it, that you don't know that person on the other side. You can't see what they look like. I mean, that was one of the big issues years ago. I'm saying years ago, it was like 2 years ago, with like different streaming platforms. People were like, wait, you can't see them? Like their cameras aren't on? Oh, well, I want to see the people. It's like, there's so many more elements to that, but it changes the way that they teach, and it's a big challenge for it. But with YouTube specifically, I think that that's one of the elements that where community comes in, and the engagement for it. I've asked you this question before, but regarding the community, like how has your guys' community evolved over the years, whether it's the engagement on the videos or on a different site? How have you guys evolved with that, and how have you guys changed it?
It's matured for sure. The or the way that we're able to engage our community is matured. I guess that's a better way to put it. Yeah. So it just started with obviously engaging in the comment section as kind of that base level of community. And then building on top of that, I think one of the biggest aspects to community that helped ours grow is understanding the primal branding, which is a book by Thomas is it Patrick Hanlon?
Patrick.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. So couldn't think of it off the top of my head, but yeah, primal branding, understanding that kind of helped our community grow. And then, so based off of that base layer of the comment section, we were able to offer like a private Discord membership. So now the people that want one level up and closer access to like Kaylee to be able to ask questions or get some help through a program or something like that. That's all on kind of a membership level. And now we've heard stories of people being on a hike and on a going up a trail, and someone coming down the trail was wearing a Kaylee Cohen fitness shirt. So they were both wearing like a Kaylee Cohen fitness shirt, and they passed each other, and they're like, "Yeah, one hollered like team sprint, and the other hollered team climb." That's crazy that that happened, right? Like, it's even just seeing the community interact with each other, and just off of one common interest, which is the cycling workouts or the strength workouts or the programs, whatever it is. Just sharing that common interest and bringing people together. People have met, visiting. We've had some people visiting Canada and meet up at a coffee shop and take pictures and post it in the Discord. So it's just cool seeing the evolution of the community like that and over one common interest.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's change. That's the kind of stuff that a lot of fitness people join the industry for, is they want to impact change. They want to create change. They want to, make that type of impact on people's lives where, just a t-shirt or even a saying, team climb, team sprint, that makes an impact on their life where they can go around and, see somebody and want to engage with somebody that way. I mean, that's huge. And I mean, that's a kind of a good segue here to the business end of it. This is something that many fit pros, they'll go off, they'll start their own business. And I say fit pros, it could be wellness professionals too, health coaches, that they start their business and then they're looking at, okay, how do I expand? Am I selling supplements? Am I making merch? Am I, starting a second location? All those types of things. When you looked at what you guys have, what were some of your thoughts on expansion and, taking it to that next level? Was it merch? Was it memberships that you mentioned, or was it the second? What was that thought process like?
Yeah, so to back up all the way to 2020, 2019, 2020, even when we were a couple of hundred subscribers, we had the occasional message or email that someone wanted to help support the channel and were asking if we had a Venmo or PayPal.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, we didn't have any of that. We would politely say, like, thank you so much for the kind gesture. You don't, we weren't asking for it, and we didn't have, a way for someone to support us. And then we could tell that people thought it was almost disrespectful that they were trying to help support the channel and they wanted to send a gift or to help. So that's when we made the buy me a coffee. And then when we didn't even put it in the description, it was just there in case someone asked.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a couple of people asking, and then it got to the point where it was like, you know what, put it in the description, but we won't talk about it. Like, don't tell people, we didn't want to sound like we were doing it for donations, because ultimately it was the reward of, adding value to someone's life. So, then we just kept getting, donations from there. And, it just, from there, that's when we came up with the membership idea for the Discord. And then we started offering calendars. What we didn't want to do is we didn't want to monetize the workouts. We wanted to keep the workout programs free. So even putting together the programs, that's all free. But in between programs, we sell like a monthly calendar, or we'll sell like add-on packages for the program. So the program is free, but if you want the extra bundle, which is like some tips on nutrition, maybe some snack ideas, body measurement tracker, printable calendar, things like that. So we were offering extra value there. And that's kind of what we've been scaling right now and building on, was that aspect. We've actually been talking to kind of a business advisor, and how can we offer more, and if we see, like, if we have a 5-year goal and a 10-year goal, what steps should we be taking to get us there, right? Because Kaylee and I really enjoy being the entrepreneur side and brainstorming together and like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. And, for a month, it sounds like a great idea. And then you look back at it and it's like, well, was that, or should we have done this? You know what I mean? And it's constantly like adjusting fire and making decisions based off the end intent of, what's best for the viewer. And
I think that also goes with your own views, and I'm searching for a word here. It goes with your own beliefs with business. I mean, at no point in that last part did you say, "Oh, it's because we want to make the most amount of money." Like, I think that's one of the things that some people might, and I think that's one of the harder things. An outlook, especially, if you've been a health or fitness professional for a long time, that that a big part of the business that you don't make that much money, and you go off.
You make enough, right?
Yeah.
Like, the goal is to make enough, and then everything else reinvested in the business. And that's one thing that I've heard Gary Vee talk about too, is like, just like, I make enough, right? I make enough to live. Everything else gets put back into the business. I don't need to drive a Lamborghini here. You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing that I like Mr. Beast or Jimmy Donaldson's approach to it all. And I binge watch interviews with him too. So
I think that some people that are listening might think that I think that they get caught up sometimes with the social media aspect of it. They see the people that are driving those cars and whatnot, and they want them to and whatnot. And I mean, with fitness, it's such a grind, and with YouTube, it's such a grind that if you are in it, and that's when like I laugh when I can't say I laugh. That's pretty mean to say, but like, and like the different like YouTuber groups that I've been in or that I joined for a little bit, it's always about like, oh, how much are you going to make per views? And like, whenever I see those types of comments, I'm just like, if you're on the YouTube game to make money from the beginning, you're going to be sadly disappointed once you get like monetized. Like, you're going to be like, this is it. That's all I'm making.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that if it does happen, you're like, oh man, I got into this or I invested all this time for nothing. But I mean, I think a different mindset might be like, okay, once you do get monetized, it's, oh wow, like I can see how growing this will have a greater impact. That for the people that do, of course, care about the numbers, all that kind of stuff. You just think of, okay, I have this amount of subscribers. This is what I'm making per day off of the ad revenue. Okay, start multiplying it in your head and it starts to make a difference. That's, but I think the creative mindset of it, that's where you have to think instead of, oh, I need to get more views. I need to get more subscribers to make this number go up. Because if you're in it for that reason, I feel like you're going to be sadly disappointed for a long time. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, it does come with a lot of pressure too. I always had a fear of like whenever we got 1,000 subscribers, it was like, my gosh, there's 1,000 people that rely on us to publish a workout in a timely manner, and like they expect to see a workout on Monday, right? And then it gets to 10,000, you're like, oh man, that's 10,000 people that like something happens. Now I'm letting down 10,000 people, right? Now we're at 200,000 subscribers, and I think right now we're over 600,000 views a month on just the cycling channel. And then, I'm not sure, but anyways, that's a lot of people waiting for a video on each week, right? So there's a lot of pressure there on just the tech side of that. When we go into live streaming and stuff like that, like I don't want to let one person down. You know what I mean? So now there's that many people expecting a workout. Now, granted, we've gotten sick, we've had to cancel live streams, or we've had tech issues and a video doesn't come out, and it's not the end of the world. Like, everyone's very forgiving, like completely understand. I don't think people unsubscribe or stop watching because we miss a week, right? So, but there is that internal pressure of knowing that. And then like just the thought of having 1 million subscribers one day, that's a lot. I don't want to. And then, like I don't ever want to be recognized in public. So I don't have any desire to be famous. I don't like the thought of not really having privacy. You know what I mean? So there's those thoughts too in the future that kind of make me a little nervous as well. But yeah, it's I don't know. Just swinging away at the ball, and we're going to hit some, we're going to miss some. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think one of the points that I want to go off of there with like the YouTube with a release schedule, I think that's one of the things that, I mean, in the beginning stages, you feel like the pressure to put out workouts on a regular basis or on a certain schedule. And I was there just last week with releasing one. I got home from bowling late at night, and just the way that things worked out that week, I didn't get a workout till of the video, the content, till like 5 p.m. But I had to go to my league bowling. I'm in a league bowl, a bowling league. And it wasn't until 9:30 that I got home. And I'm like, do I keep the schedule that I set out, or do I just put on the next day? And I've already seen how people, if you don't put it out on a certain time, people are very forgiving, like you said. Like you could apologize, and the people will honestly comment on YouTube and be like, "Oh, not a big deal at all. Like, well, I'm excited for it to come out regardless." It's like, "Oh wow, like I was putting all this pressure on myself." When your followers, they understand. And I mean, I was just blown away when I have had to make, or when I did do apologies like that. No biggie. But I think that's there's both sides of it. Of course, you want to keep your schedule. You want to keep you don't want to fall into the complacency of I'll just push it off the next day, anything like that. You want to keep that scheduling and whatnot, and you do want to be there for your fans or your subscribers, because they see it too. The ones that are loyal, the ones that are there each time, that they know that you're going to be there putting out quality stuff. And I think that's part of too, just the building with YouTube. You start to understand more of that side of it, the subscribers, how you're getting them. I feel like one of the big things that gets asked to me with my instructors with Time to Train Fitness is, sometimes I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. Like, hopefully this works, and they want to know, like, oh, why did this work out? Why was it more? Why did it explode more than a different one? And sometimes I have to tell them I'm not sure. And I think a piece of it is because we're doing so many good things at the same time. It's hard to put your finger on one certain thing. But with yourself, what has been your mindset with YouTube as you've altered your backgrounds, your thumbnails, your titles, your descriptions? What has been your mindset with, or the approach to, all those types of things?
It's basically trial and error and just trying to improve. You look at like your click-through rate or your average view duration, and it's looking at the previous month, and then this month I'm going to either increase that by 0.1% or 10 seconds or whatever the case is. And it's just trying to improve on that. And then kind of looking at things in a big picture too, like January of 2023 versus January of 2022. Like, where were we? What were we doing? What was our average view duration that month versus now? What are we doing different in the videos now? We've gone from things of like funny, creative hooks in the videos to just being right on the bike and getting right into the workout. And then just kind of measuring those 30-second drop-off points in the average view duration, things like that. So I like looking at analytics. I like that side of it, and understanding, looking at the analytics and understanding that there's some type of human psychology behind that as well. And just kind of learning the viewer and learning what works for the viewer.
Yeah. I think that's the mindset to have for it. I think that we often, just individuals in general, that we want to have something to say, okay, I made this one tweak. That's what made the big difference. Like, they want to pinpoint one certain thing, but it's okay. Looking at your analytics, did it make a difference? Okay, it's not going to be an immediate impact. And we can relate that to fitness and exercise too, like how people just want those immediate results with making one small tweak. But sometimes it's a tweak that it'll pay off after a month on YouTube, or it's something that you might never even know. And so it's hard that way to look at.
It's got to be a evolution as well, because your viewer is going to be evolving. At some point, they're going to get bored, right? If the thumbnails and the workouts are exactly the same, cut and dry, copy paste, at some point they're going to get bored. So you have to learn to evolve with your viewer as well. So keep things moving. That's why we moved back from Dubai, just to switch things up. Very expensive move, just to switch things up.
Just for funsies.
For funsies.
With the thumbnails, like I don't know what your count is at, but I know that I think I'm on my 5th version of a thumbnail. I'm trying to jog through my head right now. And that's just in a year and a half. How many times I've switched them? I'm like trying to mentally break down like each one in my head. Well, like, I think that's one of the hard things that we get stuck into. Okay, here's our brand, here's our fonts, here's our colors. And I've said this in like different courses, like, oh, you want to use all these things, but with YouTube, I mean, you got to be willing to switch those things for exactly the reasons that you said. That's part of it.
Yeah, I think just looking here at on just the cycling channel, we've posted 357 videos.
Whew.
That's a lot of evolution of thumbnails.
Yeah.
And I still feel like whenever I'm creating a thumbnail, we've gone to now being more even more intentional with our thumbnails and the design of them, and shooting the thumbnails and creating the thumbnail before we even film the video.
Mm-hmm.
There's been lots of changes, and I still create a thumbnail and I'm like, golly, like I'm never going to be able to create one as good as whoever, you know what I mean? Like, so there's always that drive to catch whoever's making really good thumbnails.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's tough. Like, for me personally, it's the wording. The wording is always the hardest thing on the thumbnail for me personally.
Yeah.
Cause like, if you want to be creative, you're like, I don't know if that's going to work. Like cause it was you that turned me on to the Google AI, and how it can read images. And I know, like, when I say this out loud, I'm like, I would just think, okay, Terminator, this is it. Skynet is coming. And the fact that it could read it, read the images, tell what's in it. But that's the hardest part. But the thing that I always say is, it's window shopping. Is this thumbnail going to catch somebody's attention when they're scrolling through all their options on YouTube? I know for myself, I watch a lot of YouTube. It's the thumbnail, but I will also look at views. I'll admit it. I look at views, and if it's a video with a lot of views on it, especially if it's for like a how-to, something like that, that'll make me click personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I normally go to like the trending page on YouTube, and I'll scroll the trending page once a week and just kind of pick up on like, let's see, this Monday I was scrolling the trending page, and I noticed a trend of a lot of the thumbnails had a negative emotion on the thumbnail. And that's something that I'm thinking, like, well, what if, does that negative emotion cause intrigue in someone else, right? Like, does it get their attention? So now how can you incorporate a negative face or a negative emotion in a fitness thumbnail without causing a negative feeling in the viewer? Does that make sense? So these are things that I think about now. Like, now how can we creatively design a title thumbnail combo that, that does that gets someone to click while being a lighthearted kind of negative tone to it. You know what I mean? Not negative tone, but like a negative emotion.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah, it's fun to think about, and I think this week we're doing it's like a bye comfort zone is the title of the ride. So in the thumbnail, Kaylee's got a negative face on as she's saying like, as she's saying like goodbye to her comfort zone. You know what I mean? So that's how you incorporate that negative or that emotion in the thumbnail. So yeah, that's where we went with designing a title thumbnail combo and then creating the ride, right? So
nice. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's literally,
you're not allowed to publish this podcast for 2 weeks. So no one takes our idea. No, I'm just kidding.
No, seriously. Like that thought process there is, I mean, some people listening will be like, okay, how do I come up with that? And they'll literally want to know the steps. And you just literally broke it down step by step, how you got the inspo for it.
Yeah.
You went to the trending tab. You noticed a certain trend. Okay, how do I relate that to my channel? What is that emotion? Okay, what will that look like? Okay, here's how it relates to my field. And
it took me 3 years to figure this out. So I'm not a talented learner. I mean, it took 3 years to figure that out. So, or it's just getting inspiration from out. Like, I look a lot outside of the niche. I go inside of the fitness niche and I'm looking at what is everyone else doing, because I don't want to do what everyone else is doing in the fitness industry.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look outside of the fitness industry, maybe in the filmmaking or the photography side or the DIY or the hiking or fishing or whatever it is, sports, right? Like, and I'll watch a couple of videos and see, number one, how are they title and thumbnail their videos? How are they structuring their video content? Is it like a vlog format? Is it a educational format? And then like, what can I take away from that? And how can I work that into something in the fitness industry?
Mm-hmm.
It's being able to look outside in other niches and just learning trends.
Yeah, I'll share a little piece of like that continues that before we get to the last question here. I enjoy movies. I enjoy going to the movies. My favorite director is Christopher Nolan, and one of my buddies that's in the fitness world, he always makes fun of me because I'm a Nolanite, and I just love all the movies that he makes. And it had to be a month ago at least. We were in the theaters, myself and my wife. We were watching Avatar. And I wanted to go see Avatar because of the two trailers that were coming out with it. One of them was for Oppenheimer, Christopher Nolan's new movie. And in it, there's a sequence, and this is not about the movie. It's not a review of the movie. But there's a sequence in it that has to do with the atomic bomb, and there's an explosion. As I'm watching that, I'm just thinking in my head, and this is where I've gotten to in my life, where I'm watching it, I'm just like, I like that. How can I now do that on my channel, on Time to Train Fitness? And how can I make this into a workout? And then that triggered my mind, B-roll footage. Okay, what could be the B-roll footage for this? Okay, for a cycling workout, it's the flywheel. And then it gave me that inspiration. I'd already been wanting to do this, and I've seen it in your guys' workouts before. I just didn't know how I would put the pieces together. But I guess the funny part, to kind of summarize this, when I then had to explain this story to the instructor, the cycling instructor, and I had to preface it by saying, this is probably going to sound super weird how I'm coming to this. And they're probably like, anybody listening's like, well, what did the movie have to do with it? Don't worry. Just realize that I have this vision in my head, and I want to get that vision on the video in the editing. And I need you to do the X, Y, and Z so I can accomplish that. But it's exactly what you said, finding inspiration in other areas and then bringing it to your own realm, your own content in some capacity, however that it is. And does it look apples to apples? Did it look the same? Probably not, but you're at least being creative and putting some type of spin on it that makes it your own. I think that's a good kind of takeaway there.
When where I worked in Abu Dhabi, they were filming, Michael Bay was filming Six Underground, which was a Netflix movie. I don't know if you've seen it, but they were filming that on the airfield where I worked. So I tried taking Michael Bay's directing skills into the fitness set, and it didn't work. Kaylee didn't like it.
I was about to say, the couch just exploded randomly out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's just but it was cool after I didn't know anything about filming or cameras or anything, and then actually being on the set of Six Underground and seeing all that and seeing the just how it works. It was pretty interesting.
I bet. I should get to the last question, but I'm going to throw in one more piece here.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's take it on for another hour. It's all
right. When you see people or you talk with people that's their life, like editing or movie production, like their lens on things is so different than ours.
Yeah.
And the best example I could give was I asked when I first started with YouTube, making longer tutorials and whatnot with KIPS specifically. And even going back and looking at those, I'm like, oh, why did I do that? I had somebody that I knew that was a professional editor. They looked at one of my tutorials that I made, and they pinpointed so many different things that I would have never even looked at. They were talking about the transitions. They're talking about the background. They're saying, okay, you don't want to put this there. You don't want to do that. And I was like, I would have never even thought about that. But like, that's their life. That's the lens that they look through, which is different than, what we'd look through. So it's always fascinating to see those things. And definitely time to get to our podcast takeaways. Because I know that we'll just keep going on and on about these things. And I switched up the podcast takeaway for this episode, specifically for being with, having you on this episode, this being about YouTube. Jason, what are 3 myths about YouTube that you want to share?
3 myths about YouTube. Oh man, yeah, you sent me this in advance, and that's the one thing that I. Let's see. Myth number 1 is there's not a high barrier to entry. So start with your phone. You don't need a camera to start on YouTube. Start with your phone.
Yeah.
The second myth is that video quality matters, and that is false. Audio quality matters.
Mm-hmm.
Audio quality over video. Video quality still matters, but not as much as audio. And then the third myth about YouTube is you're not going to get rich. There you go. That's and don't don't go into YouTube with the intent of with business in mind, right?
Yeah.
Go into YouTube to improve someone's life, and the rest will come.
Oh yeah, that's good. I'll just touch on the second one with audio quality, because that was actually something that people have mentioned to me when I've shared, when they find out, oh, you have a YouTube channel, and I send them the link, the channel and whatnot. That's always the thing that they immediately notice is, oh wow, like I could hear, it looks great, but I could hear you guys great, sounds good. And I feel like that's one of the big things. If they can't see you, if it sounds weird, or if it's coming through like like you're screaming in your living room at the camera, the webcam, they're not gonna like it. But
and then you also have to think that the person that's doing the workout, it may be in the prone position or the supine position, depending on the exercise. They're not going to be looking at the TV. So your verbal coaching along the way, and the way you verbally communicate by painting a picture in their mind so they can properly do the exercise without having to stop what they're doing, break their form, look at the TV and like, oh, that's what she's doing, and then try to get back into form. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's another thing why audio is so important, is the communication side of it.
Big. Before we sign off on here, can you give information about the channel, how they can find information about the channel, all that kind of good stuff?
Kaylee Cohen Cycling. It's youtube.com/@Kaylee or @Kaylee Strength. Those are both of our channels, or Kaylee A. Cohen is the Instagram account. And I'm jcohen711 on Instagram. I don't really share that much. It's more about the fitness, but yeah, that's it.
Good stuff. Great episode. Easily. So many things in here that people can take away, apply. That's part of why wanted to have you on this. I'm getting distracted a little by the dog in the background.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No,
his name's Nacho.
I was like, ooh, what is that back there? But great having you on, Jason, as always, especially for the type of podcast we wanted to do to kick off 2023 with KIPS. So again, thank you, Jason, as always.
Yeah. Thank you, Tyler.